What's up, people of YouTube? This is Troller here, bringing you guys another top 10 on my channel today, and this top 10 is actually going to be a combination of two top 5s. From last week's top 10, somebody suggested this, and I'm going to be doing the top 5 nerfs and the top 5 buffs in Call of Duty history. Now, most of these top 5s, well, pretty much all of them except for one in particular, pertain to weapons, because it was really hard to find these on the internet. Like, you couldn't find lists of them necessarily. So I kind of went off of what I remembered, and pretty much everything I remembered, there was a few streaks, but they just weren't as good as the weapons, but mostly everything I remembered were weapons. So that's what these top 5s are going to be. Practically, it's going to be the top 5 buffs and nerfs of weapons. So let's get right into this. I'm going to start off with the top 5 nerfs. At number 5, I have the FNFAL from Black Ops 2. The Black Ops 2 FNFAL was ridiculously good, okay? So, I mean, you could put on the thing where you could change the rate at which you fire, and you could just hold down the trigger, and it would shoot so fast. It was literally like an assault rifle, just like a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it was really powerful, and it would kill you in like 2 or 3 shots. So, when they nerfed that, I mean, it wasn't necessarily something I was happy about. I didn't use the FNFAL that much. I liked it. I had it diamond. But it was kind of necessary, because I believe you could use it in league play, and that was ridiculous, and yeah, it caused all sorts of issues. Moving on to number 4, we have the Cap 40s from Black Ops 2. They nerfed the Cap 40s, the dual wield Cap 40s, because, well, they were overpowered just in general, and I never used them. I never found them much to be useful, but every time I tuned into a stream or anything like that, Cap 40s were everywhere, I swear. They were a very, very big thing. Moving on to number 3, we have the Type 95 from Modern Warfare 3. This gun was unreal. It was literally one burst and you were dead. I don't know what it was about Infinity Ward and their 3-burst weapons, but whenever they made a 3-burst weapon, it was ridiculously powerful, and it was annoying. Like, the MSBS from Ghost was the same way. That almost made this list, but I guess you'd consider that a mention, you know. But the Type 95 was absolutely ridiculous. It definitely needed to be nerfed, and that was one I was glad to see nerfed. At number 2, we have the dual-wield FMG9s from Modern Warfare 3. This was something that, like, my friend, he called it out when the game was going to come out. He said, these are going to be overpowered. Like, he just simply said, these are going to be unstoppable, and they were. Moving on to number 1. Alright, guys, at number 1, we have noob tubes. Alright, you can't go wrong with this. From, I think, after Black Ops 1, noob tubes were nerfed insanely. So, Modern Warfare 3 came around, and explosives just weren't very useful. The blast radius on them was smaller, like the damage wasn't as good, and they were not an issue anymore, and it was a great time in Call of Duty history when noob tubes became nerfed. Moving on to the top 10 buffs, or top 5, excuse me, the top 5 buffs. So, at number 5 I have the Bison from Call of Duty Ghosts. When the game first came out, I felt like this gun was really bad, and then later on into the game, I want to say probably, you know, April-ish, June, something like that, somewhere in that area, April to June, the Bison got really good. I had people on my team who started using it, and I stuck with, like, the MTAR and the Remington for the most part, but they thought that the Bison was a new god weapon, so to say. So, yeah, moving on to number 4, we have the Vector from Call of Duty Ghosts. The Vector from Call of Duty Ghosts got a huge buff, and the MTAR, I don't know if the MTAR got nerfed or if the Vector just kind of overshadowed it. I don't really remember. But the Vector got really, really, really good, and I like the Vector from the start in this game. Like, it was good. It didn't have a lot of recoil, and it was clean. It was a clean shot. It wasn't hard to use, and it felt like you got your kills when you got your kills. There was no weird feeling to the gun. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you have those guns and you're shooting them and it just doesn't feel right. Well, this wasn't one of those guns. At number 3, we have the KF5 from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare KF5 definitely needed a buff, and this was one of the guns that I can remember from recent history where you knew that this gun got a buff. Like, just the minute it happened, like, it competes with the ASM-1. Now, the KF-5, though, you have to keep a closer range, otherwise it's not as good, but it's definitely a very, very good gun now. I like it, and it was just one of those guns where you knew that it was buffed. Like, you could tell the difference majorly. It wasn't just like a little upgrade, like a little decrease in recoil or something. It was a big change. Moving on to number 2, we have the HBR A3 from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now, before this gun got its buff, I felt like it was just completely worthless. Like, it wasn't that it was a bad gun, its issue was that the fire rate was really low. Like, the damage was good, I thought, but it was hard getting those 3 or 4 shots on target when your fire rate was uber slow. Like, for every second that I shot, I would get out 2 or 3 shots, where the other guy was getting out like 5. So it was kind of pointless to use, but it was overall, it was a pretty good gun. And then when they buffed it, it was spectacular. It's one of my favorite guns to use in Advanced Warfare now. Moving on to number 1. Now, I think we all saw this coming. The ASM-1. Now, when Advanced Warfare trailers were being released, I saw the ASM-1 in there, and I was like, this gun is going to be good. Like, it just is. This is going to be a good gun. And when it came out, I was disappointed. I was like, what in the world? None of these SMGs are very good. And, you know, that's not a big deal to me, though, because I'm mostly an assault rifle person, but they just weren't good. And so when they buffed the ASM-1, I was like, oh my goodness, this is God's child. It was spectacular. I absolutely loved it, and I still use it. It's one of my main weapons, but the ASM-1 and the HBR3 are two of my most used guns. So, I mean, I guess that's not hard to believe, considering that's what a lot of people's most used guns are. You know, and I'm gonna give some honorary mentions here, and I'm gonna say that the BAL 27 should have been on this list as far as nerfs. That would have been one that should have been on there, but it was still, the reason why I didn't put it on the list, guys, was because it's still a really good gun. Like, you know, they nerfed it, but it's still one of the most powerful guns in the game. Anyways, guys, Twitter and Facebook links will be down in the description as always. Please remember to like and subscribe. Help me out, help me grow, help me get to that next level of subscribers. The video you guys are going to see on screen, last automated, and deuces.